Okay, as we discussed right yesterday's session, the previous session, we are done with these two flows. So this, what is this first flow, right? This first flow is to get all employees. As you see this one, once again we go back. See, this is to get all employees, right? See, if we have multiple flows and multiple select statements are there, so it is always good thing, rename this and say this flow is get all employees. So it is easier for you to identify this by looking at this name, what it is doing that. And this flow is to get employee by ID. So rename this the same way. Employee by ID. So next time when you come back, right, by looking at the select statement, you cannot now find out what it meant that, right? Just click on this and then only you can see that. Instead that, just rename the flow names properly. So it is easier for you to identify also. The moment you look at the flow, you can say, oh, this is the flow which is doing that action, and this is the flow is performing this action. Okay, now we are clear, right? How you connect to the database, right? What details are required to connect to the database, and how you fetch the data and what it means, right? Everything we are done. Now, what is the next step? We are left with post, update, delete. Okay, now minimize this, means collapse all this. Okay, later we will expand this, no issue. Okay, now drag this, start from the beginning. What is the first thing we have to start to create a new flow? We have to start from the listener. So what is the next step?
Listener.
Yeah, first name this one. Okay, first thing, always make it as a best practice. Okay, create employee. Okay, name the flow properly. Now we here just see it is showing the warnings, a red symbol. It's a mandatory field. So what is this? It's by default, it select HTTP listener config. Why? Since we have already created this listener config on the previous flows. That is the reason it automatically select the one it is available. If it is not available, we have to create. So no need to change it here anything. The path we can give. What path we can give here?
Employee.
Yes, employees. And as we discussed during API design, right? How it should. Yeah. So we have to give right path. Say API slash, always follow this one, API slash employees means you are posting the resource. You are going to create a resource of type employees. So just like that. Now, what is the next step we can do?
Logger.
Yes. Always start with the loggers. Okay. Create employee request to create employer record. Okay, leave that. Like next, what is our action next? Then what we are trying to do with this flow, right? We are posting some data, means we are trying to create a resource somewhere. Where we are trying to create a resource? Hello, in the database, right? Go here. Means next step is that only, right? We are creating a resource. Then we have to insert.
Select.
No. Insert. We are not going to get the resource. We are going to create the resource. To create insert, right? We are going to insert, right? To create a resource, we have to insert the data. So insert is the SQL statement that will help us to insert the data into the underlying database or that storage location. Now, here again, it expects to insert into that particular database, you have to connect to that database, right? First, to which database you have done, yeah, you are working on. So for that, we already have created one connector, MySQL connector. If you do not remember what details are here, you just click here and go back here. Here, all the details you have configured, right? You have already done a test connection that whether it is working or not. We have done all these things in the previous step. So this connection also successful, so there is no issue with these things, right? So then let's go back to this. So this already test connection is success, no need to test this again. Okay, go back to the main flow and see. So anyway, we configured this connector. So next step is it is expecting to write the query to insert data into the database.
Insert.
What? Yes, insert into which
Insert
table you are trying to insert into? Employee table.
employee
What columns are there for us?
employee ID,
Yeah,
employee name.
yes. We just open this and see if you do not remember the names exactly and what columns are available. Okay, just go back to SQL Workbench and see the table, how it is created with the columns. Okay, this is where created a schema as a development. Here is the list of columns. Okay, just try select this and see that employee underscore ID, right? Employee ID. The next column is first name, last name.
Employee first name, last name.
Yes.
Age.
Yes. Next, mobile, email, department.
Email, department, location.
Status. Okay. If any spell
Yes.
mistake, right, then you will get a syntax error during runtime or compile time also if it is directly if the table does not exist. Okay. Now insert into employee to these columns. What you are inserting into values. So we will not directly give hard coded values. We have to give a placeholder. What is the syntax to give placeholder? Starts with colon employee ID, comma, again colon first name, comma, colon last name. This is the syntax. This is a like no placeholders that we need to substitute.
Colon,
how do you substitute?
age,
I will tell that. Yes, age,
comma, colon,
next,
mobile, comma,
email,
comma,
department, location, status. Okay. Now we are done with this SQL, but what is the next step for us? We have to get the values for these placeholders. Oh, from where we get these values? From the payload. Payload is the one we are going to post it from here, right? From this request, wherever you are sending the request, that is called as a payload. Now see this one, enable this function expression mode and say, we just see this one. We are storing into this variable, right? Say employee ID. So it's a payload. Okay, just say payload dot. So how you are sending this payload, that way only how to in the payload, for example, you are sending EMP ID, right? The same thing you have to give it here. Let's see this. If we have any. Okay, we'll go back and copy here instead of struggling this employee API. It is already there in the previous one. And where is this common examples, how it looks. Okay, here also we have the same set of fields available. Now we do just copy paste and put it here, so it will save over time. Okay, you just select the type of object that you are posting here. So this we call it as a payload. Now we are sending payload as this one. Let's see if already 6463 is already there. Okay, 6466 you can change. Okay, this is different guy. Now this has to match this field. What you are trying, payload dot employee ID, because employee ID is coming in this field. Next, first name also same thing. Okay, first name you could see here what you have given, first name, then you are storing that value from the payload field. So you have to give the first name like that, and this is last name. Okay, last name also same thing, you are pulling it from the payload. See how it looks. It's a last name. Okay, if you give some mistake here, right, it won't give any error, but even runtime also. But the thing is, you will not get the value for this field. If it is something instead of last name, if you miss some even a character also, right, it will not be able to identify. It seems like there is no value present for this field. Then after the last name, age, payload dot age is the caps here. Okay, mobile caps, email caps, all caps, first letter, and mobile.
Audible, sir.
Okay, you just keep remember, once you know this, what is the syntax, you can have a number of fields with the same manner. Okay, now you are done, right? No, you don't put comma at the end of this. It means if you are trying to put something, right, in the next value, then you separate with this comma. Because you know, right, how this JSON looks. Now, if you're trying to put some comma here also, you see this, what happens? There is an error. It is trying to expect to continue further. Okay, now you are done with this. Now, what is the next step that we need to do? As we discussed in the previous step, if you want to check the record is successfully inserted or not, right? Then you can cross check. So which query we can say, you can add this select statement, because after adding, is that record added, and I want to see the previous record along with the newly added record. So what's your query can write? You are expecting to pull all, yes, to pull all the employees. Your table name is employee. So once it insert the data, new data, that new record, then the moment it insert, then it will also fetch all the records that are available in the database, right, along with the new record. Then you can see that how you see this one using some component, right, some transform message. You pull the transform message and put it here, and in which format you are expecting to get the data. So that you have to specify. By default, the select statement, right, it execution output is in the form of Java, but you do not understand Java as example, then you can convert your understandable format like JSON. Just a payload. The next step, we can put it logger. Okay, in the logger this time I don't write anything. Okay, just leave it blank and see what it prints here. That we already aware of these things. Okay, so what is this flow is doing? Okay, it takes the request from the HTTP. So this listener will listen for the incoming request as you have given the path as this one. And what it is trying to do, this flow is trying to create a resource. How do you create a resource? With the help of insert component. This component is a part of database connector. And then what you are trying?
Selecting that.
Yeah, you are
employee details.
Yeah, you are trying to get all the records along with the new record to see whether the record is already, sorry, the record is created successfully or not. Either I can see that previous records are already there or not. Okay, then you are translating or transforming the incoming format to your own format. Then this logger is something else, right? To print this your own message, or it can be anything, right? Or if you want to print that what you posted, payload also, right? But whatever you post payload will not available here, because this payload is overridden, right? Here we have posted the payload, but this payload is stopped here only, right? So if you want to do that, then you have to do some extra step. Now this current payload here, what you are trying to display is the payload of execution of your previous component. You don't say that the payload that is posted from here. Okay, that will not be available here. Okay, make sure if you want to see this one, that is another step that we already discussed in the previous session. If you want to see the same thing, and here also that one, right? But that doesn't make sense that why you want to see that. So anyway, well, you are expecting that this payload as well as previous records in this payload. This payload consists of your payload, what you have posted along with the data that is already there in the database. So you no need to worry. Okay, our application is started and deployed. So what is this path? As we see this port, everything, change this. The path we given is 8888 slash, sorry, 8/API/employees. Yes. Okay. Well, what is the name HTTP action we are performing?
Post.
Post. Yes, you are posting a resource. 1 hour. Yes, click on this post. Then you could see 6463 is the first record in the database. A later, see, first fire this query and see the record is inserted. See here, active status active is not inserted. I told you, right? If something is wrong, then that field will not be inserted. So what went wrong here? You go back and see when it is trying to insert, what you have done the mistake. See, this is small, right? When we are posting this, we have posted it as a caps, which means this notifications to this is not able to identify the value.
Yes.
That is the reason I put this small for you to understand that how this, but you have not done that, but the syntax is correct. But here the payload attribute name is not matched what you are trying to post, because payload dot say I'm status, but status is not exactly the applications too. So this we can do some step to ignore applications too. Okay, for you to understand that if something is not there, then we don't see any exception, but it just take the value as null. Okay, apply this as now. We'll see that. So it is a duplicate entry. It is already there 6463, right? You see this, right? If trying to insert the same record again 6467, we change that. Okay. Now post this. Now it is again posted. So this time you see everything gets, sorry, I have not restarted the server. That is the reason it is after changing this here. I have not restarted the server, not saved. That is the reason it is taking that. Once you do changes, right, you have to save that. The moment you save, automatically it get published for us. So it is restarting again. So this small mistakes will be happen during implementation, but you have to find out. How do you find out, right? You don't see that where exactly it is going, as your syntax issue is not there. But where do you check that? You go check here. This is the component where you are inserting data. Is something wrong here? You have to compare this. Yes, database column it is. Yes, it is matching. There is nothing. And what type of column it is? It is string only, means varchar. As you are passing string, then what is wrong? Then go ahead and check here. Is this status? Yes, status it is correct. Is a small or any spell mistake as compared to the payload what I'm trying to post here? Then like that you have to check one by one. Let's see, the server is up. Okay, now it is started successfully. Just post this. Go back and see. Now this time everything gets inserted successfully, and you could see the data is the list of all the record that you have inserted, right? So now your flow is successful, and you see what is there in the logger. See, the logger is out the complete thing what it is, right? So logger message process, right? After the mul event, right? This is completely the mul event, right? Payload, it is returning the payload, and media type is we have done, right? Application/JSON, right? Here we said application/JSON, and attributes nothing, attributes set. That's all. So it is simple. Suppose if you print payload here, right? This the data what we are trying to see, right? Is will be displayed in the console as a part of logger. Okay. Now hope you are clear with this posting a resource, right? To how to create a resource.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we will go to the next flow. What is the next flow? Yes. to update the resource. Now let's take the same thing. Okay, we will try to update the resource. This same thing, right? For example, here this guy name is wrong. Pratap instead of Pratap, something it is wrong. So let's see that we will correct the name of this guy. Okay, let's create a new flow for this. Great. Then what is the next first step? Listener config. It is already done. And path is API slash and
API/employee.
employee slash. What we do? We have to pass as a what parameter? This is a URI parameter. It should be employee ID. As we discussed, right? This should be the it should be in the curly braces and the ID employee ID. And next step is logger. Okay, as now you leave this blank. Okay, no need to write anything. And what is our flow and what we are trying to do? Then we are trying to update. Update is nothing but what?
Update.
Which query you can use? Which component we can use to update? Select the database. You see this is update already predefined. Just drag that.
Update.
Yeah, sorry. Update. So for update, so what fields you are trying to update? You have to, well, before that again use the character configuration, and we are trying to update. So there is syntax already starts with the update. It's just simple SQL update. There is nothing much. So you are not going to update the entire data. So what data you are trying to update, you can put that update. What is that? Table name is employee. That table name. What you are trying to update? Set. What name you are trying to update here? First name only, right? Fire first underscore name. So first name is something went wrong. So equals to the placeholder of first name. Okay. But to which user you are trying to update? So you have to give the condition where employee ID equals to that employee ID, because it has to update the first name, right? If you don't give where condition, right, then it will update to all the records just like that blindly. So here we are trying to update for a single record based on the input. That input is the employee ID, right? This input you have to capture, right? First name and employee ID. So you have to get the input parameters from here. So this first name equal colon. What is that? So next, what we can write next? Payload. Here we are posting from
Payload.
here, right? The data, right?
Employee.
Payload dot.
The first name.
Yes. Payload dot first name. Next field, next input field is. See, this is the one we are updating based on the ID, right? So these two input fields you need. You have to think that what exactly we
Employee ID.
require.
Payload employee ID.
Payload dot employee ID. Yes. Now we are done with this. Now complete the flow by dragging this one. Or if you want to see that the data is got updated or not, again use the same thing as we discussed in the previous flow. Use the select statement, right, to see you want data got updated or not. And instead of going back to database again, right, you just use that select statement here as employee. Yeah, that's all. So what we are trying in this flow, we are trying to update the resource part, right? Only some of the data, right? It's not updating all the details. We are trying to update only few records. And then make sure to which record you are updating. You should be knowing that ID of that resource, right? This that is 6467. Have to give that one, otherwise this will get updated based on this ID. So that's name went wrong. So now we are giving the correct name. Instead it is a say Pratap. Say Pratap have something went wrong, right? It is. So we are trying to update for this record. Now let's wait for the server to come up. Okay, it is in slicing anyway. Until then, we will go back and select that. So what is the HTTP action we are performing here? Hello.
Yes, sir.
What is the HTTP action we have to? What action we are trying to perform? See, by looking at the flow, you understood, right? What you are trying to do?
Put that
Update,
confusion.
right?
Update.
HTTP action also
Yes.
update. Sorry, put, right? That is the put, right? We are trying to update
Yes,
the
sir.
record. Okay, let's see, something is going wrong here. Listener, already existing listener matching that path and methods. So it is saying API/employee/employee is already there. It is saying, so where we given that one? Okay,
Update.
what it is saying, right? You understood that path which we are trying to is already there. If you see here, expand all our flows and see there's such issues also. That is called a troubleshooting. So this is get all employee. This is get by employee ID, right?
Yes.
See, this path is already there. Okay.
Already there.
Yeah, here you don't need to give this path. Okay. For this, you just remove this. Okay. Anyway, this is by ID, right? Then we are not going to take any from the URI param. Sorry, this we know it's not required to take from the URI param. We are taking it from the payload as we have said thus in this input parameters, it is taking from the payload only. If you are taking from the URI param, right, then you have to append with the slash and curly braces. Now we are not taking from the URI param. So this is coming from as a part of payload body. Let's see now this time. You have observed this thing here. What is the difference here? So the two ways you can pass the employee ID. Anyway, you are updating the record. Always go with this payload only, because anyway payload you are sending as a part of information, right? For employee ID again, no need to take as a separate kind of your parameter. Here it is going as a part of body. Again, why we don't need to send as a part of URI parameter. Let's go with the payload as a part of payload, so that you can ignore this error type of error. That is actually right standard way. I thought this we are trying to get the record by ID and say employees. This is the employees, but the action is different. See API/employees. It is same thing here also. API/employees. Again we see the error. This is coming up. A little patient. Okay, started initializing. So here we are already selected the put method and which fields we are trying to update this field based on this field, right? ID. Okay, this data is ready. Now here, let's try before it come up. Let's try to test this one. You could see this. Say connection refused means could not send the request, means the server is not up and not ready, not available to test the application. See now again you could see error. I told right here. See this again you could see error. See already existing listener is there. What is this already existing listener? I told right just now. Get all employees. The path is already there. See.
Yes, yeah, that
See here.
employee
APS.
ID.
Here also we have slash employees. Say just different. Give different name. That's employee. Make sure if you say already listener is configured with this path, in the sense in the listener only we have to check that. So that is the way we have to troubleshoot the issues, means the way to debug the issues. Debug is nothing but something, if something goes wrong, we have to find out the cause exactly what it means that. Okay, in the listener it is clear saying, okay, there is path already configured in the listener. So which listener currently you are working on, rest you have to check that listener and you have to check that other paths, right? Possibly where you get see I by ID means it will not, by create means it is not there. Mostly the same path may be definitely available here. If you have the same listener, no matter, it should not combination of same things, listener, same path. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what action next? What flow is pending? Now we are done with the insert. In select by ID, select all, update. Only delete is pending. That we will complete that now in shortly. Once we are done with this testing, and we have 5 minutes left. It is deployed. Let's go back. Test. Say no, it became wrong. See, it is trying to post this. Now this is put method. So it is trying to call the post this one, because we have not in the listener, we have not instructed you accept only put method. That is the reason it is accepting all. Then it is treating as a post. Then it is not actually taking. Now if you give the proper path, then it will try to connect to that. See, runtime attempt to send invalid argument data HTTP response. What is this? Insert is failing. CDB query execution is failed. This is update. The update set where equals to employee ID. First name equal to payload dot first name, employee equal to employee ID. What's the error it is saying?
Sir, that
Okay. No, that is previous error.
employee is upper letter that will be considered, sir.
It is saying invalid data HTTP response. Say update after updating. Select employee. See, okay. Here we don't have transfer message to see that update data.
Yes.
Let's wait for a minute. It takes attempt to restart again. You see now? Because here we are not giving the next action to be performed, it's just executing the query and it is not able to send the response back here. That is the reason it is say. Now we have updated 6467. You see 6467. See, the name is got corrected. So this is how you do for update. Now let's complete this delete flow. And we are running out of time. Let's see listener. Okay, what changes is that? Okay, select that path. Say API slash employee. Based on ID, we are trying to delete. Say pass this as a URI query param, URI param. Okay. Then log on, and there is a database operation for us, right? To delete this record. So just put that delete statement. So this time we need to have a different query. What is that query? What query can write here? Delete query. Configure that first and say delete. Yes, simple delete statement. Yes, delete from which table name? Employee. So based on the employee ID, employee underscore ID equals to the employee ID, what we are setting as a part of your parameters. So how you take this parameter? You are from the
employee.
Attributes, no, you are not taking from the payload. You are taking from the URI param. See, attributes is URI params is a part of attribute. Say employee ID. From there we are capturing this one. Okay, you have to give this. Sorry. See, attributes and URI param employee ID we are sending. And after deleting, again, if you want to see that, you can write the select statement, no matter, okay, how many times you can use this. Okay, it is not required, but for you to understand, to see whether record is already moved out from this list, to see that you can use this one. After that, what do you want to see? Again, you want to see the message or the list of records that are updated records.
Yes, payload.
Yes, payload. Now, logger is not mandatory. Let's go this with this. Okay, run. Okay, this listener is there. Already configured a place employee/id. Okay, copy this path and go here. Okay, and you have to select the delete and no need to send anything. Say none. So what is the syntax here?